Today we're going to work on our first division strategy, which I'm going to call just partial product. And so what we're going to do is, remember division is putting items into equal groups. Sometimes you might have a remainder. So let's say that we have the number, we'll start with 3-digit numbers. So 678. And we're going to try to figure out how many times 5 can go into it. I know it's not going to be even because it ends in an 8. And so 5 isn't going to go into it evenly. There'll be a remainder. But I'm going to go ahead and get started. I already kind of did this wrong because I need to leave myself space on top to stack my numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and clear that and try again. So I'm going to do this and 5 and 678. So my first task is to think, what is the biggest amount I can get 5 to go into 600? And I always want you to think about the multiples of 10. So I could go with 50, and 5 times 5 is 25 with a 0 at the end. So 50 times 5 would be 250. That's a pretty big chunk. Okay, I could also think, could I go even higher? Maybe I could go with 60, and I know that 5 times 6 is 30, and add a 0 at the end, that's 300. So that gives me even a bigger chunk. Then I could even think, could I go even higher? If I don't think I could go higher, I'm not sure. Okay, could I even do 100? 5 times 100 is 500. Would that work? Yeah, that would give me a pretty big chunk. So I'm going to put my 100 up here because 5 times 100 is going to be 500. And I'm going to put that down here. I'm going to subtract it now because I'm taking away because I figured out 100 does go in. So now I have my 8. I have my 7 and 1. So now I have 178 left. So now I have to figure out, does 5 go into 178? Not perfectly, but about how many times? Well, I know that 5 times 20 is 100. So let's go ahead and go with that. So 5 times 20, and that would be 100 down here. And then I'm going to subtract. Now you can notice Miss Mac has run out of space. I'm just going to go ahead and draw it over here. Okay, so now when I subtract it, I have 78 left. Okay, 78 left. I need to figure out, does 5, right, go into 78? Not perfectly, but let's see what the closest is. Well, I know that 5 times 10 is 60. So 5 times, we could kind of go with that. I know 5 times 12 is 60. So why don't I go with that? So I'm going to put my 12 up here, and then I'm going to have my 60 down here. In theory, it would be stacked below, and I'll show you a picture later of what that would look like. Now I subtract again. Now I have 18 left. So does 5 go into 18? Well, not perfectly, but I know it goes in there 3 times because that's 15. So I'm going to put my 3 up here, 15 down here. Now I subtract it. I have 3 left, okay, which means it's less than 5. So I know this 3 is going to be my remainder, what's left over. Now I'm going to look up here, and I have these numbers. Okay, I got to add them up to figure out. So 3, so I have 120 plus 12, 132 plus 3 is 135. So I'm going to say 135. Okay, so 5 goes into 678 135 times. If I want to check that, I would multiply it. But I also have to, I almost forgot my remainder. So I have 135 remainder, and I'm going to look over here, is 3. Okay, so now what I would do is I would have to do 5 times 135 plus 3, and that should equal 678. Okay, so I'm going to now multiply the numbers I can. I'm going to move this bar. So I have 135 times 5. So 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 30 is 150. And then 5 times 100 is 500. Okay, I have 5, so I have 675. Am I done? No, I got to add my remainder in. So now I have 675 plus 3, which does equal 678. So I double checked it to make sure it is correct. We'll do one more. Let me clear my screen. Let me see if I can write it a little neater. We have, let's try 327, and let's divide it by 4. Well, I know that 4 times, so I'm going to think of, again, how many times can 4 go into 327, and I'm going to try to take the biggest piece away. So I'm going to think about my multiplication, and I know that 4 times 7 is 28. So if I thought of 4 times 70, I know that would be 280. That's a pretty big chunk. So I'm going to put my 70 up here, and I'm going to have my 280 down here. I'm going to subtract it. Oops, I can't subtract 8 from 2, so I'm going to borrow. That becomes a 12. So now I have 47 left over. That's pretty good. 4, I know, goes into 47 roughly 10 times without going over, because 4 times 10 is 40. So I'm going to put my 10 up here, my 40 down here, and I'm going to subtract. Now I have 7 left. I'm going to figure out 4 goes into 7 1 time. So I'm going to put my 1 up here, and I'm going to subtract my 4 from the 7 and get 3. And that is less than the 4. So I know this 3 again is my remainder. Now I'm going to add these up. So I get 81. To double check it, I would say, so 4 goes into 327 81 times with 3 left over. To double check it, I would say 4 times 81, put in parentheses, plus 3 should equal 327, but I'm not 100% sure. So let me multiply. 81 times 4, so 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 80 is 320. Add it together, and I get 324, but then I have to remember to add my 3. I'm not done, so that would be 327. So that is the first strategy we're going to learn.